Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a deep dive. This one's going to be in-depth for sure. In some of my videos previously, I've talked a good deal about deliverance, how to break soul ties, trauma bond, spiritual and energetic ties with the narcissist. And I want to kind of take all those bits and pieces and put them into one video. This is going to be really good for you guys who are going through it or have gone through it or need to sharpen yourselves with what you're going through, because the narcissist is going to try and retie you. The narcissist is going to try and spiritually hoover you. Some of you might say telepathically or spiritually or whatever. The narcissist is out there, especially if you're a chosen one, ruminating, trying to invoke you and suck you back in. And so whether you're in the beginning stages or whether you're whatever stage you're in, this is going to be really helpful for you guys. I want to try and hit all the marks the best I can. I thought about this a lot today, and I thought about even how successful I've been versus some other people or some different situations, because the narcissist likes to leave you a lot doubting yourself, taking all the blame and leaving you destroyed. It wasn't so in my case. I wasn't like that. I was making it very clear that you're the problem, you're mentally ill, I'm not taking any of this, this is you. And none of that stuff was rolled up and hung around my neck because I was not consenting to it. I was making it very clear that the problem is you. But some of us are coming out of, different places with that, and the circumstances are very different, and a lot of us identify differently. But we all are going to struggle with the same things, and ultimately what we want to achieve is full commitment to no contact, and that means physically and spiritually. But a lot of us don't really know how to approach or handle that spiritual aspect of no contact, and it gets a little gray, it gets a little muddied, and there's nowhere to go to really get this information. You can't take a class on it. Even if you know about spiritual warfare, it's not going to be that niche that is of breaking from the narcissist. So in this case, we're going to go through all those things as much as I can, and I'm going to give you guys like what I know, what I've seen, and hopefully it'll help you guys out, because you guys deserve to recover. You guys deserve to have a life worthwhile, and you guys deserve to be free to grow closer to God and live a life worth living. So just ground basics. In the beginning, we need to establish that what we're dealing with is the physical, and then from the physical it moves into the spiritual. You're going to work it backwards. You're going to run it backwards, because as things move forward, everything happens in the spiritual first, and then it manifests in the physical and takes root. So in order to undo it, it happens in the physical and it backtracks, and you pull the root out of the spiritual. You follow me? So what you're dealing with in the beginning of, it doesn't matter who left who first. It doesn't matter where the discard comes from. You have the ultimate discard in the end, because you're not being put on the shelf. But what you're dealing with in the very beginning stages of no contact or getting rid of the narcissist is you're dealing with a physical addiction. You're dealing with a physical addiction from the roller coaster, from the ups and downs, from hot and cold, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the adrenaline, and all the stuff that you've been through, that you've been conditioned to. You're a fiend for the drama. You're a fiend for the abuse, and you don't almost know how to function without it. And when the narcissist leaves, you feel this void because they take so much of you with them, because they just tore you out from the core. They peeled you like an orange and segmented you out and just left you in pieces. And you're not sure what you were from the beginning versus what you are now. You're just skinned and segmented. And there's a part of you that wants the narcissist back because you feel like the narcissist has so much of you and you have this huge investment in them. Plus, they're the ones that are, basically controlling all these hormones and all this stuff that's going on from your brain from the abuse. So, you're broken and you're addicted. And, if you can accept that and establish that, then your first overcoming is that you're going to have to deal with that brokenness. You're going to have to deal with that abuse. And it's going to be hard. It's physically, it's going to be hard. Mentally, it's going to be hard. And it's going to be hard for you to sleep. But that actually is the shortest and easiest part of it. You being able to step over that and get into that is what brings you into the next part, which is what this whole video is about, is the all these spiritual and energetic bonds that happen. And so what you really need to understand is that a trauma bond is really the connection that happens between the spiritual and the physical. The trauma bond is the spiritual aspect of you that is physically tormented and addicted. If you can break that, then you're breaking the trauma bond. If your commitment to no contact can get you past the addiction and the withdrawal phases of your abuser, that's breaking the trauma bond. The trauma bond really truly is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual in your addiction, in the abuse with your abuser. Okay? The trauma bond is kind of the first thing that really breaks. Soul ties is different. I don't care what anyone says. That's my belief. You can disagree. Soul tie and trauma bond, completely different. Not even, nothing the same. So breaking the trauma bond is the commitment to going through the physical pain, suffering, withdrawal of the addiction, committing to no contact, and getting to the point where you can stabilize your physiology. You can sort of bring your sleep back on track. You can sort of start to function without your abuser. That commitment, that revoking of the consent that says no more of you, no more of this, I'm done with this. It's almost like saying, I'm not having my coffee anymore in the morning. Or I'm not smoking my cigarettes anymore. It's very much along those lines. And, you breaking your relationship with your coffee or your cigarettes is exactly within the trauma bond, like how you break your relationship with the narcissist. Okay? So, going forward, it gets really deep spiritual in trying to break the bonds, the ties that you have energetically and spiritually. And the reason is because the narcissist is a witch, is a warlock, is operating demonically in the spiritual realm, and has been and is and will always be doing this. And you have to bring yourself to a point where you become more powerful, that you can shut off their advances towards you in the spirit. You need to build your spiritual altar to be a stronger altar than their demonic altar. Through fasting and praying, through your faith. And ultimately, I have talked quite a bit about deliverance being important after narcissistic abuse. And I've made a video kind of just on it. So I'm only just going to touch on it now. But I needed deliverance after narcissistic abuse. And whether you self-deliver or you have a qualified person intercede for you, you do need to go through some type of deliverance. And deliverance is not a one and done. And nothing that I'm saying is a one and done. I want to make that clear. It needs to be a healthy habit, like lifting weights or going for walks. It needs to be done repetitively for weeks, months. It's not just going to be like, well, I prayed a prayer. It's not going to do that. This needs to become a frame of mind. This needs to become a mindset. You need to be proactive with what I'm about to tell you. So, deliverance is a huge key. And kind of what I'm going to tell you are components of that. I'm not going to get into the power, the legalities, and all the things of how deliverance works. It's just, there's not enough time in this one video for it. You can research that sort of stuff on your own. Sorry, I have a cold. So basically, what you really want to start doing privately is you want to be in prayer, and you want to be in your spiritual place, your secret place, and you want to start revoking all the consents that you've ever made with the narcissist. Everything that you ever gave, you want to pray for it back. Everything that was ever taken, you want to pray for it back. Everything that you ever said yes to, you want to say no to. And you kind of want to go through all those things to the point where, in the end, when it's said and done, you're saying, I make no consent with darkness. I make no consent with evil. I make no consent with the narcissist. I call back all to me that is me that you gave me. And that's the beginnings of how you break soul ties and these spiritual and energetic connections. Okay? And you gotta be sincere about it. And you know what? You've also got to be repentant. You've also got to be forgiving. You can't be, prideful, demanding. Your heart posture needs to be in humility for these things to work, for these things to happen, because otherwise you don't deserve it. You're just getting the punishment that you asked for, that you deserve. You need to be in a place of repentance. You need to be in a place of humility. You need to be hungry for recovery, and you need to be seeking the Lord for these things to really work. And so these things are along the lines of forgiveness. These things are sort of elements of deliverance in bits and pieces, kind of what I'm describing. So what you want to do is just really go through the Spirit, pray in the Spirit, and just spend time in prayer and say, Lord, I've made a mess of things. I've been tied to this evil and demonic creature. I was stolen from. I gave where I shouldn't. Lord, I revoke all the consent I gave to this individual to take from me. Lord, please restore to me what you gave to me. Restore me. Restore my money. Restore my land that you gave me. Restore all that, is me, that you gave to me. And start to go through a lot of things, and then, ask for forgiveness. Lord, forgive me. Lord, forgive my forefathers. Forgive the ones who have come before me, who have worked things in a way that have brought me to this place. Lord, open my eyes to see where I need to see, to pray more. Help me to understand what I need to see in the Spirit to pray. Lord, I pray these generational curses off me. I pray that you forgive my forefathers, my family before me. Forgive me for the things that I've done. And start to just go through everything. Lord, give me a heart to forgive. Lord, give me a heart to walk the path that you want me to walk. God, be with me. Restore my money. Restore my health, my wealth, my mind, my body, my soul. Restore to me that is me. Bring me back to me. Reset me. And just start to go through these things and renounce evil. Take back control. Cover others with your prayer. You know? And what you're going to find is you're going to get a release. If you're doing this genuinely from a heart of faith and from innocence with a good heart posture, you're going to get a release from this. You're going to get some freedom. You're going to be slingshotted away from this place. You're going to start to physically, mentally, and emotionally get away and into a place where you can heal. But it's not going to be over because the narcissist is going to be invoking you, trying to spiritually hoover you, trying to spiritually put their thumb on you like they do, and try and contaminate you energetically. Believe me, they do that. This happens. The narcissist invokes you, thinks about you, ruminates you about you more than you can imagine. Okay? And now rumination isn't just 100% bad. We want to get away from rumination eventually at a certain point. In the beginning, it's just hurtful. It's hard. It's painful. And we're being abused over and over and over again by that rumination. But the first thing that we do with that rumination is we take and we turn that rumination into education. Through what I just described, we then take that rumination and we get ourselves to a place of recovery where that rumination becomes education. And then we can see where we went wrong. We can learn what abusers do. We can see what God has done for us. And that rumination starts to have a positive effect. We start to transmute that and flip that. And that's where we start to spiritually and energetically take control. Because on the other side of that rumination, on the other side, it's something very different's happening. But what you're going to do is you're going to flip that and start to use that as positive. Because you're not going to be able to stop the rumination. What you're going to be able to do is take and use that as a strength. You're going to be able to, instead of, taking the lashes, you're going to start to remove yourself from the pain, from the abuse, and you're going to see that rumination objectively. Okay? And that's going to bring you to a place where you're learning lessons as you ruminate instead of taking lashes. Lessons instead of lashes. It's not abuse anymore. It's lessons. It's education, not rumination. Or education in your rumination. You get where I'm going with this, right? So once you take that shift in your rumination to that rumination being abuse, being depressive, putting you down, you transmute that, you flip that rumination into education. Instead of taking the lashes, you're learning the lessons. Then the next step is really going to be to get what you can get out of it and then stop it. You want to stop the rumination because part of the reason why you're ruminating is because the narcissist is obsessing about you, stalking you, ruminating about you more, and because they're doing that, they're spiritually and energetically invoking you, making you uneasy, not giving you peace, and you can't stop it because they're not stopping it and they're not going to, but you're going to bring it to an end. So if you continually go through, the things that I've talked about, you continually pray to break these things. What you're going to find is the narcissist is going to show up in your dreams. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be bizarre. It's going to be abusive. It's going to be sexual. There's going to be a whole lot of that going on. For me, what happened to me when I had my spiritual awakening, my dream life changed. My dream life became extremely demonic. I cut everybody out of my life. I committed to no contact with the narcissist. If I wasn't having interactions in my dream life with the narcissist, I was having some demonic sort of thing that was happening. And I started to actually become aware of this. I started to overcome my dreams. I started to dream like in an aware way where I knew I was dreaming. I started to have power in my dreams. I, and I don't know, maybe this applies to you or maybe it doesn't. I'm just telling you something personal. I'm telling you what's possible. But the narcissist is going to come to you in your dreams. And so what I started to find out was I was having incredible demonic dreams, narcissist infiltrated dreams. And some of that revealed things to me or whatever, but most of it was just harassment. Um, I found that I was able to become aware of it, that I was dreaming, and that if I became aware of it, I could control it. And I would find myself dreaming, and as soon as I would find myself thinking, like, I don't consent to this, this is bad. It's like once your eyes open in the out here where you're awake, your eyes are open when you're asleep too, once you've had an awakening. So once I found myself thinking, like, how did I get here? This doesn't make sense. This is a weird place. This isn't something I would do. I start rejecting it, rejecting it, rejecting it, and not consenting, you know? And so I found myself in places in the dream realm where things would be getting out of control and I could just wake myself up. And I'd find myself in places where the narcissist would be infiltrating my dreams and I would just literally let the narcissist have it. I mean, that's not what I would do in the physical. That's not who I am here or how I would conduct myself or how I would speak. But I would lay into the narcissist. How dare you come into my dream? How you are this? You're an abuser. I don't want anything to do with you. I would lay into the narcissist in my dream and tell the narcissist everything I thought about them. You are never coming back. Don't come to me again. I would chew the narcissist out in my dream. True story. And I'm not having it. I'm not having it. There's zero chance of that ever being a thing. Not in my dreams either. But in some of these dreams and some of these demonic dreams, like you will be lured into doing something uncharacteristic, how the narcissist does to you, draws you into sin and then takes their hand off and then points the finger at you. You know, those things will happen in the dream realm. And you definitely don't want to eat anything. You definitely don't want to take anything. You definitely don't want to consent to anything in the dream realm. If you're having demonic dreams or dreams with a narcissist, whenever you wake up, even if it's in the middle of the night or even if it's in the morning, you just pray afterwards. And you say, I don't understand this. I'm not sure what that's all about. That wasn't me. I don't consent to that. You know, God, forgive me for anything I might have thought or did. I make no agreement with darkness. I give no consent to the narcissist. And just wake up and pray it off after you have these dreams. Because the narcissist is going to come to you in your dreams, and you guys might not be able to take power over your dreams, but these things are going to be happening. In your waking life, it's going to be rumination. It's going to be um, the narcissist is going to be invoking you spiritually and energetically. And how you deal with that is you replace it with something else. And I mean, you pick one thing that you commit to doing when this happens that replaces the rumination or the invoking that starts to happen when the narcissist starts to invoke you, brings you into rumination or you feel anxiety. So it could be you think about a vacation you went on and you were laying on the beach and you were hearing the beach waves. You just go straight to that every time. You just need to pick one thing that you're committed to that sidetracks you, takes you off that path. It could be when that happens, I like to take my dog for a walk. It could be when that happens, I like to think about my business. Well, what am I going to do with my business? I'm going to think about that instead of this thing with the narcissist. You need to recognize it and just snap out of it and replace it with something that you've committed to replacing it with. And I'm just going to tell you, just pick one thing. You know, it might just be that you decide to do a breathing exercise. Whatever works for you. As you start to get further and progressively into your spiritual and energetic tie cutting, you need to find proactive ways to start to continue that path, maintain that power, and to take you away from there. The narcissist is going to spiritually and energetically infiltrate you, harass you, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So, once you've reached a point of, I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for. Once you've reached a certain point of resistance and nonconformity, you will know it. You will know it because you will spend the majority of your day in freedom. You will spend the majority of your day thinking about living a healthy, productive life, doing the things that you do. And when there are these times where these things sort of manifest, or you have these thoughts or memories, like even me, like doing this video, is like that, it's going to happen. But you're going to be in a healthy of enough place. You're going to be in enough control where you can sort of, go in that territory and tread through that and not get stuck there. Like a memory. You can dive in, dive out. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, I acknowledge that. And sometimes that, I want to remember what happened. I want to learn my lessons. You can go back there, but you can get in and out as you need to instead of being stuck there in rumination, in spiritual ties, trauma bond, soul ties. You have to stop consenting. You have to commit to once and for all and forever it being done. Go no contact, stay no contact. There's nothing there to miss because there's no person there. It was a deception. The narcissist has no identity. They're out doing narc things all over the place. They don't love anyone. They don't love themselves. In fact, they hate themselves. They hate people. And quite frankly, they're out there getting their karma. And you needed to get out of the way, especially as a chosen one. God got you out of the way so God can get to work on that. So don't give up on any of that stuff. Take what I've told you. Exercise that a bunch every day. Every day. I don't care if you got to pray it twice a day. I don't care if you got to pray it for 3 months, 5 months, whatever. You do it until you're good. You do it until you're free. It's that bad. These are evil people, right? You do what you got to do. And in the spiritual realm, it's like that. You've got to think like that. You've got to move like that. You've got to continually say no. You got to know that if you've got a weak spot, if you've got a crack, or if there's a maybe up here, the narcissist is going to be like a demon coming to pry for supply, trying to open that door. open doors to demons. You better close that door. You better close that door so there's no pride for supply. No chance to dance with the devil again. Nope. Anyways, I hope this helps some of you guys out. I wanted to take some of the elements that I talked about here and there and kind of put it all into one thing. I know this works. I know it's true. It worked for me. It'll work for you. You guys be blessed.